This is Kelso Surgeon. Thank you very much for joining me for Handicapping 101. Today it's all about the NFL and some of the games. We're going to discuss an issue that I come up with all the time because we have the perfect situations for it today, the bounce factor in handicapping NFL football. Before we get into that, just a couple of notes. Today, releasing my 100-unit NFL blowout game of the week. Last week, got all the cash with the St. Louis Rams over Arizona. Going to come right back today and do it again, but I'll win even easier this time around. Also, a quick note, keep in mind that my December to Remember package, the bargain of the handicapping season, is underway right now. You can get it all, and when I say all, here's what you get. All the big games, and by the way, I released 9 games last weekend, rated from 50 to 100 units. I went 7-2, and if you were on board for my December to Remember package, you broke the bank right then and there. Here's what you get with the December to Remember package. First of all the big games. Secondly, you get all the NFL games for the rest of the regular season, the NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl. In college basketball, you get all the bowl games, right through the BCS championship game between Oregon and Auburn. And you get daily basketball best bet picks, and that's every single day. And by the way, 4-0 yesterday. I win in the big games, I win in the little games. So you get the NFL, the colleges, and NBA and college basketball, all for just $249 charged to your major credit card. Sign up on this site or toll free at 1-800-755-2255, just $249. And as I said, I accept all major credit cards. You can win and start winning big today. Now let's get into today's NFL games, and I want to discuss the bounce factor because there's a lot going on and there's several teams in a bounce mode today. You know, let's take New England at Chicago, where New England is a 3-point favorite. The Patriots come into this off a giant 40-point win over the New York Jets, a real stunner. And by the way, I think it's time for the Jets to stop talking and start playing football. But you know, you look at the New England-Chicago game, and there's no way in the world that you cannot make New England a go-against play in this game. They played lights out against the Jets, and they're on course to take a nosedive and bounce downward today against Chicago. And of course, Chicago is playing very well. You know, they won 5 in a row. They're going for 6 in a row today. So you have a lot working for you if you use the Bears in this game. And I'm leaving that up to you. I'm just saying that New England is in a negative bounce factor and it probably will not play very well today. The bounce theory simply says if you play lights out one week, you'll play in the dark next week. If you play in the dark this week, you'll play lights out next week. So we've got New England on the nosedive in this game. I personally would lean very much toward Chicago. We've got Buffalo in a bounce upward mode. They played terribly last week and got buried at Minnesota. They're at home this week against the Cleveland Browns. No great shakes of a football team. And Buffalo is in a bounce upward mode. That's once again, you know, I should say you can't just use one factor to handicap NFL football, but the bounce is a very important element in the handicapping process. So we've got New England bouncing downward, Buffalo bouncing upward. The game between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers is not a bounce game, but you know, how can this not be a blowout? You know, the Falcons are a modest 7.5-point favorite. Carolina can't score. They don't have any offense, and they don't have any depth to go with it. You know, last week they opened up a 14-point lead at Seattle and just fell apart and got beat 31-14. It just doesn't work for them. And I lean heavily toward Atlanta in this game. And once again, I'm not sure that Carolina can even score. Those are just my thoughts, but I think they're worth thinking about. Tampa Bay and Washington, not a bounce game, but you know, Washington has lost 5 in a row and just looks like a pitiful football team. There's something missing there, a lot of infighting going on. Now, for the play of the day, I believe that teams bouncing off a negative performance are much stronger plays than teams bouncing downward off a positive performance. If one team was embarrassed last week, it was the New York Jets. They went to New England talking about how they were taking over the AFC East, how they were the best team in the NFL, and they got beat by a mere 45-3. This team is in one of the strongest bounce-back positions of the season, as it's at home against Miami this week. And I'm just going to tell you straight up front, if you're a believer in the bounce factor, and I am, you can absolutely tap out on the New York Jets this weekend. And, you know, we'll see what happens, but I do believe I'm right. Now, another game that's very interesting, Kansas City at San Diego. You know, San Diego is in a bounce-back form off a terrible loss to Oakland last week. But, you know, there's something that I've always said, that one factor doesn't determine the outcome of football games. San Diego has an injury list as long as my arm, and the bounce might not work for them this week. Just keep that in mind. So, once again, consider all the angles in handicapping the NFL this week. Pay special attention in several games, especially those I mentioned, for the bounce factor, because the bounce factor is in play, and I do believe that it will propel at least one team, the New York Jets, to a giant win. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be right back here next week with more football and basketball.